Once upon a time, there was a man who lived in the basement of an old and dark house. This basement had a different atmosphere from the rest of the house. The walls were damp. The air was cold, and there were dust clouds in every corner. Every night he spent in the basement, the man would hear strange noises. These sounds would become even more pronounced in the silence of the night. Hissing, scratching, and even sometimes whispering sounds. The man tried to understand where these sounds were coming from, but he found nothing. One night the sounds escalated. The man jumped out of his bed in fear and decided to find the source of the sounds. He moved deeper into the basement, and with each step, the sounds became louder and more distinct. Finally, he reached the darkest corner of the basement. There, he found a dusty chest. When he opened the chest, he found an old diary inside. When he read the diary, he learned that the spirit of the previous owner of the house was still in the basement and would stay there forever. The man was horrified by this information and immediately left the basement. From that day on, he never went down to the basement and decided to leave the house. However, he could still hear those terrifying sounds every night. The man had decided to leave the house, but he could still hear those terrifying sounds every night. These sounds were even following him in his dreams when he woke up at night. The echoes of the sounds coming from the basement were still ringing in his ears. One night the sounds rose again, but this time the sounds were not only coming from the basement, they could be heard from all over the house. The man jumped out of his bed in fear and started to wander around the house. In every room he found traces of the spirit of the old homeowner, old furniture, faded photos, and dusty books. Each one was telling the story of the previous owner of the house. As the man found these traces in every corner of the house, he realized that the spirit of the previous owner was not only in the basement, but everywhere in the house. With this knowledge, the man was even more horrified and immediately decided to leave the house. The next morning, the man left the house and never returned. However, from that day on, he still saw the house and the basement in his dreams every night. The spirit had gone everywhere with him, and he could no longer get rid of it. When the man realized that the spirit was going everywhere with him, he didn't know what to do anymore. He was seeing that house and the basement in his dreams every night. The spirit had gone everywhere with him, and he could no longer get rid of it. One night, the man encountered the old homeowner in his dream. The old homeowner said he understood the man's fears and wanted to help him. The old homeowner told him that he needed to find an item hidden in the basement for his spirit to find peace. When the man woke up from his dream, he knew what he had to do. He returned to his old house and went down to the basement. The basement looked scarier than before, but the man bravely moved forward. Finally, in the darkest corner of the basement, he found a box that he hadn't noticed before. When he opened the box, he found a photo of the old homeowner inside. He took the photo and went upstairs. That night, the man encountered the old homeowner in his dream again. The old homeowner said he was grateful to the man for helping him, and his spirit found peace. The next morning, when the man woke up, the house was silent. He wasn't hearing strange sounds anymore. The spirit had finally found peace, and the man took a sigh of relief. When the man felt the silence of the house, He felt a relief inside, however, at the same time. Knowing that the spirit of the old homeowner had found peace gave him a sense of peace. From that day on, he no longer saw the house or the basement in his dreams. However, one night the man saw the old homeowner in his dream. The old homeowner said he was grateful to the man for helping him and gave him a gift. This gift was the most valuable item of the previous owner of the house, a golden key. When the man woke up from his dream, he found a golden key under his pillow. He took the key and looked at it with admiration. This key was the last gift of the spirit of the old homeowner. The man kept this key and always carried it with him. This key reminded him that the spirit of the old homeowner had found peace. And although the terrifying memories of that house were still in his mind, the man was now telling them as a story. And so the man's story ended. However, the end of the story was actually the beginning of a new beginning. The man's new beginning started with the peace of the old homeowner's spirit. The golden key always reminded him of this peace. However, the man's life was no longer the same. He was not just a man anymore. He was also a storyteller. Whenever he told the story of the old house, he could see the fear and curiosity on the faces of the listeners. His story both scared and enchanted them. However, he always gave them a lesson at the end of the story. They should always make sure they are safe. One day, the man came to a village. The villagers gathered to hear his story. The man told his story, and the villagers listened to him with great interest. At the end of the story, the man showed them the golden key. The villagers were amazed at the power of this key. When the man left the village, the villagers bid him farewell with gratitude. They would never forget the power of the man's story and the golden key. And so the man's story continued wherever he went. He told his story and gave important lessons to people. And although the terrifying memories of that house were still in his mind, he was now telling them as a story. And always at the end of his story, by showing his golden key, he reminded everyone that they were always safe wherever the man went. He told his story and gave important lessons to people. But one night, the old homeowner appeared in the man's dream again. This time, there was a terrifying expression on his face, and he warned the man, "The power of the golden key is more than you understand. You must be careful with it." The man did not take this warning seriously and continued his journey. But in the next village, the golden key suddenly disappeared. The man searched for the key, but could not find it. That night, the strange sounds started again. This time, the sounds were not only in his dreams, but also real life. The man looked around in fear and froze at the sight he saw. The spirit of the old homeowner had appeared in front of him. The spirit was holding the golden key in his hand and was looking at the man with a terrifying smile. "You should not underestimate the power of the golden key," said the spirit. "This key brought peace to my spirit, but it also bound your spirit. Now you will be like me." The man was horrified at these words. However, the spirit's words were true. The man now felt that the spirit of the old homeowner had found peace. But at the same time, his own spirit was restless. Now he too had become a spirit, and his story would continue forever.